Hello students, welcome to our first recorded lecture for MA 170. Today we are going to be talking about nutrients. This is lesson 21.1. Okay, so nutrition is the study of nutrients in food, including how the body uses them and their relationship to our health. A nutrient is a chemical substance that's found in food that is needed by the body for survival and well-being. Good nutrition is an important component of health and the well-being of an individual. Inadequate nutrition can result in poor health and cause disease. Medical assistants should have knowledge of basic nutritional principles and the recommended nutritional therapy for common conditions and diseases. While MAs are not qualified to conduct nutritional assessments or recommend nutrition therapy, because this is the responsibility of a registered dietitian usually, or a physician, or other mid-level provider. But MAs should make sure to adhere to these guidelines to stay within the scope of practice for a medical assistant. So medical assistants, it is within our scope of practice to provide education on nutrition therapy once it has been prescribed by a provider, a healthcare provider. Okay, so that's why we're going to spend the whole week this week learning about nutrition. So nutrients, there are 6 classes of nutrients divided according to their chemical structure and role in nourishing the body. There's carbohydrates, fat, protein, vitamins, minerals, and water. So the 3 primary functions of nutrients in the body are to provide energy for the body, build, repair, and maintain the tissues in the body, and assist in the regulation of our body processes. There are 2 different types of nutrients: macronutrients, which are required by the body in large amounts, and then micronutrients, which are required by the body in small amounts. And if you recall some of our basic terminology, macro means large and micro means small. So macronutrients are containing of carbohydrates, fat, and protein. So those are the 3 nutrients that we need in large amounts, and they provide our body with the kilocalories that we need to yield energy to perform our body functions. A kilocalorie, or a kcal, which is often just referred to as a calorie, is a measurement of a unit of energy. So it is the amount of heat needed to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water 1 degree Celsius. So it's actually a very specific measurement. That is how we measure quantities of our nutrients. So carbohydrates, which consist of 4 kilocalories per gram, our body uses these as short-term energy. Fat consists of 9 calories per gram. Our body uses this as a more long-term fuel source. And then protein, which is also 4 calories per gram. This is used by the body for building, maintaining, and repairing tissues. It can be also used as an energy source, but our body much prefers to use carbohydrates for energy. It's a much easier process. So micronutrients, as we said, are very small amounts that are required by the body. And this includes vitamins and minerals that are not broken down by the body, and they are used in the form in which they are absorbed. Okay, so we'll go back to our macronutrients. Carbohydrates are organic compounds which are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And 45 to 65% of our daily caloric intake should be carbohydrates. Through digestion, carbohydrates are broken down into sugar units and then converted into glucose by the body. Glucose is the chief source of energy for the body, and it's our preferred source of energy for the CNS, or central nervous system. And the body needs to maintain a constant blood glucose level to ensure continuous energy supply. So we've got two different classifications of carbohydrates. Simple, which means that they're made up of one or two sugar units. Monosaccharides have one sugar unit, and disaccharides consist of two sugar units. Remember that mono means one and di means two. So these are some examples of simple carbohydrates. Some yummy stuff, but not exactly nutritionally dense, right? So the simple carbohydrates will provide an immediate source of energy for the body because they are very quickly converted to glucose for use as energy. These are found in processed foods and refined sugars such as candy, cake, cookies, pastries, sweetened beverages like sodas, and then just table sugar, syrup, and honey. So these are really empty calorie foods or low nutrient density. So we'll talk more about density later on, which basically means that they're not really doing a lot for us in the long term, right? They're going to give us a really quick source of energy, but they don't contain any vitamins or nutrients that are going to sustain our body functions for a long period of time. They also naturally occur in milk, fruits, and vegetables. So complex carbohydrates, another classification of carbs, is these are polysaccharides. So they're made up of many sugar units strung together in a long chain, right? So compared to monosaccharides and disaccharides, which are simple carbs, the complex ones are made up of much more sugar units. And these come from plant-based foods such as pasta, rice, bread, cereal, potatoes, and legumes, which we have some pictures of here. So complex carbs provide a more steady supply of energy for the body, and that's because of the many sugar units that they consist takes longer for the body to break down. So this leads to a less dramatic rise in blood sugar level. And then the fiber part of it as well, a complex carb consists of many sugar units, and then the fiber can be soluble or insoluble, which we will talk about here. So dietary fiber, soluble fiber delays emptying of the stomach and makes you feel fuller longer. So this can assist in weight control and also helps to lower blood cholesterol and protect against heart disease. So these are some examples of complex carbs that are high in soluble fiber. Insoluble fiber does not dissolve in water, and so it passes through the GI tract intact, and it provides roughage or bulk in the diet. It helps promote normal elimination and prevent constipation, and it reduces the risk of diverticular cancer and then other forms of cancer as well. Okay, so our next macronutrient is fat. This is also known as lipids. These are organic compounds that do not dissolve in water. They're composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. They do provide long-term energy because our body can store it in unlimited quantities. And there's a big misconception still that fat is bad for the body and it only leads to weight gain, but this is not true. Our bodies need fat, right? The lipids in our blood transport the fat-soluble vitamins that are absolutely important to our good function. And then it also assists in the transmission of nerve impulses, and it provides a very nice insulation and cushion for our organs in the body. So there's different types of fat in our diets. There's saturated, unsaturated, which can be broken down into monounsaturated and polyunsaturated. And then there's trans fat and cholesterol and triglycerides. So saturated fat is primarily coming from fatty animal sources. So bacon, sausage, poultry skin, whole fat dairy products, and then also some plant sources such as palm and coconut oil. And it raises the total blood cholesterol, which we know increases our risk of heart disease. And the American Heart Association recommends limiting saturated fat to no more than 7% of the total calories consumed each day. So that's a fairly small amount. Here's some examples of saturated fat items. Unsaturated fat is primarily from plant sources, and they tend to have a protective effect against heart disease, which is the opposite from the saturated fats. And these should be 2/3 or more of the total fat consumed each day. And there are two types: monounsaturated, which is the most protective against heart disease, and then polyunsaturated. So remember, mono is one and poly is multiple. So trans fat does not occur naturally in our foods. This is formed from hydrogenation, which means we're adding hydrogen ions to unsaturated fat, which then turns it into a specific saturated fat called trans fat. So this is a chemical process that is done, in the food factories, etc. So it makes these fats more stable and less likely to turn rancid. So it extends the shelf life of processed foods. And it also gives food a more desirable taste and texture. But it raises the total blood cholesterol. And so no more than 1% of our diet should be trans fat. Cholesterol is actually not a true fat. It's a white, waxy, fat-like substance that is absolutely essential for normal body function. So it's an important component of cellular membranes. It's used in the production of hormones and bile. A portion of it is also manufactured by the liver. And other portion comes from diet, so our dietary cholesterol. That is only found in animal products. And we do know that high blood cholesterol can cause atherosclerosis, which is a buildup of fatty deposits on the walls of arteries all over the body. Triglycerides, this is a chemical form in which fat exists in food and the body. And it's derived from the synthesis of the food by the body. So excess glucose or protein in the body is synthesized into triglycerides and then stored as adipose tissue. Some of it remains in the bloodstream and our major source of energy for the body. But excess triglycerides in the bloodstream increases the risk for heart disease. And actually, extremely high levels of triglycerides causes pancreatitis, which is never good when the pancreas shuts down. So we want to keep an eye on our triglycerides as well. Protein, this is our last macronutrient. It contains nitrogen in addition to the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen that is in fats and carbohydrates. The nitrogen enables protein to build, maintain, and repair body tissues. So this is the primary structure in making up muscle, bone, skin, hair, enzymes, antibodies, and hormones. So it's really important to the function of our bodies. It also aids in fluid balance and muscle contractions. And the amount of activity that we perform each day determines our individual protein requirements. So some people, their bodies require a much higher amount of protein than others depending on what they're doing. So amino acids are smaller units of protein, and that is how protein is broken down through digestion. So the amino acids are arranged in different combinations depending on where they're being used by the body. But these are often referred to as the building blocks of life. There's 20 of them. 9 of them are essential and cannot be made by the body. They must come from the food that we consume. 11 are non-essential because these can be synthesized by our own bodies. So you want to pay close attention to the 9 essential ones, right? And make sure that you're including those in your diet. So a complete protein contains all the amino acids that are needed by the body. And the sources include animal-based foods. So we've got milk, chicken, steak, fish, eggs. An incomplete protein lacks one or more of the 20 amino acids, and those are sourced from plant-based foods. Now you can have complementary proteins, which are 2 or more incomplete protein sources that combine to include all of the essential amino acids. Okay, so vitamins are micronutrients. This is an organic compound required in small amounts for normal growth and development. They occur naturally in foods and also may be added to processed foods to increase their nutritional value. Most vitamins cannot be produced by the body, and most are obtained from food. So there's 2 different types of vitamins. There's water-soluble, which dissolve in water, and fat-soluble, which dissolve in fat. Water-soluble vitamins cannot be stored by the body. They need to be consumed every day. So this includes all of the B vitamins, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 12, and vitamin C. They help to regulate metabolism, they facilitate our nervous system function, they help to maintain healthy skin, and they help to convert food into fuel or energy instead of storage. Now, the fat-soluble vitamins can be stored by the body, so we don't need to consume these as often as the water-soluble vitamins. And these ones are vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. These help to maintain our vision, skin, and mucous membranes. They regulate our calcium and phosphorus absorption. They support normal blood clotting, aid in bone development, and help to protect our red blood cells. Now there's another class of vitamins known as antioxidants. These are vitamins A, C, and E. So there's a molecule that inhibits the oxidation of other molecules. Oxidation reactions can produce free radicals that can damage our body cells. And then these damaged body cells are thought to contribute to aging and then other bad diseases such as cancer and heart disease. So the antioxidant vitamins are antioxidation, so they actually help to protect against this chemical reaction. Minerals are other micronutrient. These are naturally occurring inorganic substance that is essential to the proper functioning of the body. They're highly concentrated in foods of animal origin, but vegetarians can obtain adequate mineral intake by consuming grains, nuts, and dark green leafy vegetables. So there's 2 categories of minerals. Major minerals are required in larger amounts, and then trace minerals are required in smaller amounts. So major minerals, we need about 100 milligrams per day as an adult. These are found in the body at 5 grams or higher. So if anything's less than 5 grams, that would be a trace mineral. These assist in bone and tooth health. They help to regulate the blood pressure. They are essential in balancing our water and acid-base ratios. And these include calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium chloride, and sodium. And here's an example of some good calcium food sources. So trace minerals, there's only 50 milligrams per day required in the adult diet, and these are found in the body in levels less than 5 grams or less. They assist in proper metabolism and structure. They also assist in immune and blood system functioning, and these are iron, copper, zinc, manganese, fluoride, selenium, iodine, chromium, and molybdenum. Okay, our last nutrient is water. So humans can live only about 3 days without any water. It's a universal solvent of the body. It allows nutrients to dissolve in water and then be transported throughout the body. It allows for transport of substances in and out of cells. It's a solvent that's great for ridding the body of waste products. It helps to cushion the shock to bones and joints. And it also helps to cool the body's internal temperature. It's obtained in the body by our consumption of fluids or foods with high water content. It's also a byproduct of chemical reactions that occur in the body. And we lose it from the body by urinating, perspiring, breathing, our feces elimination, and then vomiting. Not the best way to lose it. Okay, so that's the end of lesson 21.1. We'll pick back up at 21.2.